It's the No Last Race podcast with Mick and Louis, brought to you by Karaka, New Zealand's champion racing stable.
Welcome in. Mick Guerin Louis Herman-Watt coming at you on a Wednesday night, I believe it is, in silly season, pretty much still silly season. Mickey G, how are you? Welcome to Boys Get Paid No Last Race podcast.
Yeah, thanks, bro. It's good to be here, mate. I had a wicked weekend. I went to Kamara, which a lot of people wanted to go to, but it was cool. The racing down there was really cool, really rustic. Good fun to catch up with a lot of people, but also good way of learning some stuff. You learn that it's not just Ellerslie and Trentham and Alexandra Park and Addington and those places. Like, it's really important for me to keep learning that sort of stuff and about how the communities are reacting to potential track closures. Kamara is not one of those tracks, but around that area. So look, I sort of wish most of the top end people in racing administration, I'm not talking the Paul Wilcox type guys because they are running a singular club or a bunch of clubs. But I mean, people who are at the national level, I reckon they should take a tour and take them to all these places, because I think it's really important good decisions are made about those places rather than hard and fast decisions. But that's a conversation for another day.
It is indeed. Michael, you won't be aware of this because you don't use Facebook, do you?
No, I'm not on Facebook, no. I don't really use a lot of social. I use Twitter for stories for the Herald, but I don't use a lot of stuff. But I was aware of the fact that a shot of me in what was turned by my co-host Emily a wife beater T-shirt.
Whoa!
Exactly. Was in play.
Look, just for anybody that's wondering what's going on here, this is Michael. He's been coined the Dan Bilzerian of the West Coast by Tainer, and if that doesn't stick, I don't know what would ever stick.
Well, fair to say I was behaving a lot better than Dan Bilzerian. There's no doubt about that.
Oh shit!
That's actually a tent with my family, and there's lots of us. There was about 60 of us at the races. But look, Tainer was down there, did a really good job with Lee Phelan. They did a good job covering the races, but fair to say he might have got me at a slightly weak moment. I only drank Amstel Light, but we did drink as many of them as we could get our hands on. So I don't drink at the races usually, as you know, but yeah, we had a bit of a day out, and I think we lost some money. But put it this way, it's the one day of the year, I give myself a total leave pass.
Yeah, well, obviously, mate, dressed up in that get-up. Unbelievable. The style icon, Mickey G's, descended to Dan Bilzerian levels.
Oh, no, it is. I thought, no one will know who I am here. No one's going to see me. And about 20 people was walking past like, hey, Mickey G, what are you wearing? Like, come over here. I was like, oh, Jesus, this is bad.
Okay.
Look, it was a great experience, and it fell really nicely because obviously Ellerslie was massive over the Cup Carnival, and now we get into Trentham this week, and then Karaka Million, then the Karaka Sales, then Wellington Cup, and then we're into pretty quickly Tarapa, Avondale, and then Auckland Cup time. So it was sort of a nice, bizarrely week off from racing for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, well, we're gonna. Well, look, at least I'm gonna tell the people what we're gonna do today because the comments are already steaming in as we expected. People desperate to know who wins the 2-year-old. We're in Karaka Million mindset at the moment. This time of year for Boys Get Paid, it's all Karaka Million. So we're gonna do a heavy dosage of that. Obviously, we are here with Tiaka. They're going to get their fair share of prominence during this show because it is Telegraph Week. So we've actually got 2 Group 1s this weekend, and we have this anomaly where we have 2 odds-on pops trained by the same stable or the same trainer, and Jamie Richards, Brando, and Avontage. So we'll tackle that at the end of the show. We'll get through some Karaka Million stuff. We'll do our hell of a race, and we do have a new free delivery code as we kind of part ways with how in a roundabout way soon enough. So we'll rip through all of that. But Mick, the headline for us has to be, and you had Luke Kemmys on weigh-in, which was cool to see, and I thought he held his own, which was good. Good to see the general out there.
Look, did a really good job. He speaks really well. Look, he's an intelligent guy, but it's good for people who are maybe of older generations or the more authoritative places in racing who haven't met Luke to see just how serious some of the aims of Boys Get Paid are, because it's a lot of fun. It's like a big party, but there still needs to be some serious aims to it all and what you guys are doing on the radio and stuff. I thought Luke spoke really well, and he'll have a place one day if he can be stuffed doing it in racing administration. But, at the moment, the most valuable thing he can do for the industry is what he's doing now and going to the sales and buying a horse, because the people who are watching this right now aren't people who want to get bogged down on some of the other shit, racing administration and that sort of stuff. So, look, I think he spoke really well. And we've been really lucky on weigh-in. It's a show which got canned, and was bought back through independent sponsorship. And we've had Paul Wilcox, Butch Castles has been on, obviously Cameron George. We've had Danielle Johnson on. In coming weeks, we've got Luke Radich is going to come back. We're going to have very specials from the sales this week with Andrew Seabrook to talk about the no bullshit stuff about the sales. And in a couple of weeks after that, we've got Ian Smith coming on. So I think those shows play an important role in just making racing more than just about a whole bunch of numbers changing on a television screen.
Luke reckons he was sober too, which is a huge start. So, I mean, that's a real step.
He rode a scooter. Yeah, it was very metrosexual. But then again, on Boxing Day at Ellerslie, I saw he had shaved his chest because he wanted to wear an open neck shirt. And I thought, that's the last time any prick from BGP gives me a hard time about the way I dress.
Yeah, gee whiz. He just needed the scarf and he would have been in full compliment. All right.
He had a shaved chest. And he had the buttons open so you could see it. It was very feral advertising from the great man.
There has been many a question about Luke Kimmy's style sense over the years. You wouldn't be the first one. All right, we're going to get to it. So we're going to do Armelina's trial. We're going to do Agon's trial, and we're going to play a replay of On the Bubble's last race as well. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But if I say Karaka Million night or New Zealand Bloodstock Karaka sales to you right now, Mick, what is your headline? Where is your head at?
I think it's a real unknown, the 2-year-olds. I think more so than most other years because Palamos is scratched and Kufu didn't make it. We've got 2 of the horses who could potentially win it going to Tauranga this Friday. Now, that's the pathway Cool as a Beal took, but it's very unknown. It's not like a horse come out and won the Eclipse by 5 and we thought, oh, shit. This time last year we thought it was Play That Song versus Cool as a Beal. So it's not – there's not that many definitives about it, whereas the 3-year-old race is totally different. Amaralina versus Agon. That's a classic, big, boy versus girl type racing attitude. And then obviously Levante is going to turn up against Travelling Light, potentially Kiwi Ida, maybe Show of Roses in the Mares race, which bizarrely might be the race of the night. So it might be the race that gets the most eyeballs, even though it's only worth about 70,000 or 100,000. So it's our most important week for the industry by a mile. Obviously, for your movement, it's the most important week. I still think there's more things in play here. The one thing I would say, and I said this to Luke the other day, is if you guys end up with 200,000 to play with, the first bet's the easiest bet of your life. And that's just you have 100,000 and win in Levante. I've been telling people on the show now for the last 6 months, have your big bet, half your stake on the horse you think's the bet of the night, which will probably be Levante. And you back her, and if she wins, you can't get too much of a bleeding nose. So things could change over the course of the next week with barrier draws, but then you need to ask if you can get 100,000 on, Luke, hyphen. But I just think that's a really easy one because the boys will get an adrenaline rush out of 100. She's an exciting horse to watch. And she might be the probable of this year's Karaka Million, even though she's not in the Karaka Million races.
Well, I'm not Luke because I'm not slagging you off. Your missus was loving it, the open colour shirt. There you go. Shout out to Mrs. Guerin.
I think she prefers older men.
Oh, shit. There you go. Well, Luke, he's not too far off. Anyway. So, yeah, no, okay. Levante, you've been recently given a bit of a shout out for the way you can predict the closing price then, Mick. It's hard to know without seeing the final field for this race, but you can't be getting much more than $2 on Levante, can you?
You're probably not, but if you think she's going to win, because horses like Show of Roses who are going to run on the speed, and Kiwi Ida takes a little bit of money because she's a good Southern horse and well-proven defending champion for this race. But if you can get say you've got $200,000 to spend, which rolls off the tongue a lot easier than it is to achieve, and you have 100,000 on a $1.70 chance, and it rolls home, you can't do any damage. No one cares if they lose 15% of their stake. No one gives a shit about that. So if you do that, A, you've got a focal point for the night and something to cheer about, and B, you can then go to work on the other 5 races. So, yeah, but she's, unless something weird happens in the next 10 days, she's going to be the bet of the night. But then again, they might open her $1.40, $1.50, in which case you need to wait. I don't think they would.
Well, look, this is the other thing we need to consider. We're not going to go and say we're going to put $100,000 on Levante, are we? Because what are the TAB going to do? So none of that discussion will be going on in public. But we'll work it out. And you're right. Look, it's going to. What's that?
You don't have to bet with the TAB.
Oh, don't go spiraling down this rabbit hole.
Well,
It's not
true.
worth it. It's not worth it. Okay, let's move on. I want to show you this. I want to show everybody this because this became the new favorite. This horse became the new favorite for the Karaka Million 2-year-old on the bubbles here on Ellerslie on Sunday. And this was a super win. So in the Tangerine going round and 3 wide, doesn't have any cover, but John Parks just pushes on. What did you think of this race, Mick?
Two different things. I thought the performance was outstanding. I actually thought the field wasn't that good. I think Baldara looked like a horse who had had enough, so it wasn't something I took into the equation. I was stunned by the price for the winner, but he found the line really well. This time of year, a lot of these 2-year-olds are getting shinny and they get a bit sore on the hooves and they just get annoyed. They get pissed off. They're going through growing phases, and you want to be on horses who aren't having those issues, who aren't feeling shit about life. And clearly he's not. Like, he's just strode away from them here. He's happy as Larry. This type of surface will probably turn up in the Karaka Million in 10 days' time. So he ticks all the boxes. How strong the race is compared with, say, the Boxing Day race or the New Year's Day race, impossible to tell. But you get the feeling, if he's favourite for the Karaka Million, which he is, the second to sixth favourites weren't in that race. So I'm not discounting it in any way, shape or form, but I'm not looking at it and going, wow, that was Play That Song's trial from last year, or wow, that was Cool as a Beer, or that exact race 2 years ago is the race probably won. So I'm not getting carried away with it, but by no means is there anything to dislike about the performance. The thing that amazed me was the price. A Tiaka horse paying, I think he paid $580 or $680.
Yeah, he drifted. Yep, he drifted back out. And I guess Mille Fiore was the horse that was going to be in that race. Ben Masters, Benny obviously has a share. So she turns up on Friday, raised temperature. That's why she came out. Disrupted prep.
I get Sneaky Shark, which is crucial. Now, Sneaky Shark, they don't want to take there Friday, but they've got to take there because he's on the cusp of missing out. So he might cop it, I don't know. But then again, Cool as a Bill last year went the same way, missed the Sunday race because of the temperature, went there on the Friday, won, and then won the week after. So how it affects them all, I won't have any opinion on the Karaka Million in depth until we do the barrier draw. That's 11 o'clock next Wednesday morning, and until I hear what everybody thinks is going on with their horses. But it's going to be interesting. It's interesting to actually have, I don't know, maybe between 2 and 7 or 8 winning chances.
It is. It's fun because the imagination's running wild. Well, it is for me at the moment. There's lots of different moving parts. One thing that I know for certain that I will not get over is the fact I have Armelinas at 16s in the futures market, and a lot of the lads got onto that and were smart enough to pick it up both here and offshore. And you can now just sit there and watch the night unfold. Really, you don't have to stress too much. If you got some of the $5 a place, as a lot of us did as well, a little each way bet, well, you really can enjoy the night, and then you can have your bet on the.
That was beautifully found. You suggested it to me. I just hadn't seen enough of it to know whether I thought she could win a Karaka Classic Mile. And a lot of things have happened since that have made her look a far better bet, but well found. And anytime someone finds a horse like that, you can go into the race virtually in a position where you can't possibly lose, because you would suggest Aegon's probably the only other winning chance, maybe the Irishman. You can expect them both. If you spend $100 on Amaralina, you can put $100 on Aegon and $50 on the Irishman and watch them run around in circles and go collect your money and drink some beer.
Well, with that being said, Mick, let's have a look at this trial. Amaralina and Melody Bell. Melody Bell has the sash in between the 3 leading horses at the moment. Amaralina comes around. What did you think when you saw her leveling up? I know you don't like to read too much into trials because Melody Bell's obviously an extremely fresh state, but the way she galloped and the way Danielle got on with her, did it impress you?
Oh, she was excellent. I mean, for a horse having only the 4th, she's had 3 starts, so this is her 4th outing, along with a couple of other trials before her start. Massive. Like, that's a very, very good horse, maybe a great horse from front. She always trials a little bit fat, fresh up Melody Bell. She was only okay in the trial she had before she won the Windsor Park Plate at Rotorua, but look, she's still a class horse. And there's also a very, very high class Melbourne Cup 4th place getter sitting on their back in the Chosen One. So nothing to dislike about this. 100% she can win next week. She might turn up and win the Karaka Classic by 3 lengths, and people will just go, wow. Or Aegon might beat her, and you go, that's fair play too. Yeah. I reckon it's a complete race in 2, but there's a lot to like about this. And Aegon also trialled on the day, obviously, too. We're going to see that in a second. I had a really good talk to Andrew Forsman, and he's really happy with where he's at, but he's also a realist. He's done this a lot of times in his life, and he's aware of the fact that that trial suggests that horse is going forwards, and his horse is going to go in fresh. And there's there's a little bit of catch-up footy to play there. So here's Aegon back on the inside, obviously in the Jon Snow colours. Difference here is Avon's going to beat Manny's Power, so he's going to settle in behind them, come to the outside. He actually travelled really well, which was crucial. Like he's got into the race really easily, and he's travelled up on the bridle, so he's now moving into a trailing position. But he's beating an 8-year-old mare, so there's nothing definitive about what he does. In saying that, that's all he had to do. So I think he's going to go to the Karaka Classic in a really good place, but whether he's got that 5% of residual fitness a horse like Emeralina has is doubtful. But he is also the stable 2 years ago, tried something similar with Madison County, went straight from the 2,000 guineas into the Levin Classic, similar amount of days in between, and managed to win that, beating some pretty good horses. So if Emeralina wasn't in the Karaka Classic Mile, you'd say he's probably a certainty, maybe the other way around too. But good enough trial, like the way he towed himself into the race, didn't hit a flat spot. Again, nothing to dislike about this. It's just a matter of whether people go, well, which one do I want to be on? And again, the prices will be affected by the barrier draw. Maybe their winning chances, not so much.
It's the variables I find tantalising, Mick, because so we know Aegon wants to go to Australia, but we also know that he's a small horse, right? He's a skinny he's not made of a lot. So how do you train a horse like that, get him ready for $1 million race, knowing that there is races for bigger stakes that you want to also target? Does that give the favour to Amaralina, who is fit at the moment, has trialled up an absolute peach? But then how much does the barrier draw come into it when you consider one wants to go forward and one's going to do a chasing job?
Look, they've both got smart jockeys who are going to be on them. Opie apparently is going to the High Court to try and get his suspension overturned, so there's still a chance he could ride Emeralina. Probably Friday they've got a case time. Emeralina would have Danielle anyway, who's winning the premiership. Leith's a very smart big race jockey. So they're smart jockeys who will work out where they want to be. To be honest, and often in two-horse races, and by no means am I insulting anybody, they're not two-horse races. There's other horses that can win this race, but the market puts them clearly as the top two. Sometimes they ride against each other, and you might see a little bit of Tavi Mack and Avantage doing that this week as well. So, yeah, look, she probably deserves to be favourite, but she hasn't done what he's done yet. He still went all the way to Riccarton and won the 2,000 guineas. So I could easily make a case for both horses. It's just a matter of who you want to be on. And if you're on one already, it's pretty simple. Just pick the other one.
Oh, it's so exciting! It's so exciting. I'm just like jumping. Yeah, I'm jumping out of my skin for this race. Lots of the lads are fired up, and lots of people got onto those futures. Luke points out Madison County run third. I think we had a punt on him that day as well.
He went third in that race, but he went to the Levin Classic 2 weeks earlier. So the Baker Forsman team have proven they can give those 2-month gaps between Group 1 races. So they've done something like this before. Again, not for a very big horse. So it's doable. But, yeah, it's one of those races where after the race, people who back the winning one are going to come up to you and say, well, it's a certainty. No chance they want to beat it. And if Aegon beats the mare, they'll be saying, mate, I won the 2,000 guineas. You're a dick. So there's going to be a lot of smart asses after this race. But if you've got the $16, you can be a smart ass for as long as you want until you get drunk.
Well, you got the grouse overs. Speaking of getting drunk, Luke wants a little secret out. We've got the Boys Get Paid beer. That's working. And you can get in there and you can order it. And we're going to have some up, and we'll try to get some out to the sales. I would have thought on the Sunday. We're going to be posted up out there. So if you want to have a good old session, come find us and we'll get on some ales. One last thing on this, Mick. Opie Boston, like when Emeralina won that 8 carat at Ellerslie and the turn of foot twice was just scintillating and it was kind of jaw dropping. Opie got off, and by all accounts, he's a pretty reserved character. But when he got off and kind of came back into the birdcage, was like eyes wide open, like, wow, that horse is something, that filly is something I didn't think I was going to feel. When a senior jockey of his kind of reputation says something like that, do you listen more than when blokes like me and you speak?
Well, definitely more than us. Adrenaline's a funny thing. Obviously, I find with horse people on the day, and by no means am I saying this is the case with Opie because she's trialled super since. On the day, people will get really pumped up. Like I reckon Ricky May, the harness racing driver, has told me about 5 horses are the best horses he's ever driven. Unless he's been progressively driving better horses, which he hasn't, that can't be true. James McDonald, for example, who's about as good as it gets in the Southern Hemisphere, is not scared to put a rap on a horse. Because he's an enthusiastic, happy person. That's just how he talks about life. Everything's great to James because he loves life. Yep. So You need to take personalities into account. Opie is very reserved, and if he's given it the big rap, yes. Often a trainer or a jockey will say something on the race day, and then you'll ring them 2 days later and you'd say, well, is this as good as Probably? And they go, oh, no, it's not as good as Probably, but. Now, I've seen no indications of that from Opie, but anything anybody ever says to you on race day should be taken with a little bit of a grain of salt, just a lesson heading forward. But in saying that, Opie is a very conservative judge usually.
Yeah, it's a funny one. And DC, David Ellis, obviously principal at Te Akau Star, did say to Clado the next day he didn't think he'd see another Probable, which kind of had our eyes just like, whoa, all right, let's, I guess only time will tell, because we can't say it's ridiculous until we've seen it. So we will just see. And I'm willing to be on the track and get fucking steamed if she does. So that'll be that.
Luke was saying the other day you got about 750 people coming along. That's a big old day at the office.
Mate, we've actually gone past that. So we've only got 850 capacity for 850 in the room, right? And we've gone past 750. So if you're watching this and you haven't got your ticket yet, or your mates haven't, don't just try to be the guy that's too cool and will turn up on the day, because you won't get in. And don't whinge about it either, because it's your fault. So go and buy a ticket now. I'm pretty sure Luke, you'll post the link in this comments here so we can make it real easy for people, because we don't want you to miss out, but you're going to, because this is New Zealand's most popular race meet now. It is.
Well, it's also, and they don't have the capacity for some of the other race meetings have, because, it's a different type of race. It'd actually be interesting to see how it pans out, Karaka Million, not because we're used to having about, 500 internationals here. The number could vary from 300 to 800, depending on what you call internationals and what capacity they come in. But of course, there's going to be none. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how much noise is made, how much money spent across the bars and all that sort of stuff. But it's got a hell of a following to it now. And the weather in Auckland, if you're not in Auckland watching this, is super at the moment. Look, it feels like a proper summer. So if that's the case and it sticks around, then there's going to be a shitload of people who want to party, because obviously the Monday is a public holiday. So it ticks every box you could possibly think of. And interesting to see if the internationals change the vibe, or whether they don't change it too much.
I'm leaning not so much, but again, time will tell. I just from what I know,
not for your people. It won't change where you guys are, because they don't go up there.
No, not that we're kind of we're not a clique, but we just we have our niche. Anyway, let's go. Let's keep going.
No last race with Te Akau. It's easy and affordable to be involved in New Zealand's champion stable.
Good on you, Baz. Just ordered some BGP piss. Appreciate that. Now, this weekend, we have Group 1 racing. So it's funny that we've spent 20 minutes talking about next weekend, but this is what happens. The Levin Classic into the Telegraph, $1.75 shot in Brando into $1.65 shot in Avantage, both trained by Jamie Richards. Stable's flying. We know that. We talk about it every week. Is that quite rare in your kind of memory banks, Mick?
It is in galloping, yeah, for sure. I mean, Group 1 galloping races have a lot of depth to them and a lot of moving parts. I think Wellington's this day is starting to lose some of its allure. Two reasons. First of all, there's $1 million races the week after. So there's horses who would have gone to Trentham, but they're in $1 million 3-year-old race next week. So they're not going to go. And I think some of the horses who go to the railway, it's too short a break for them to go to the Telegraph. Some of them don't want to road down that far. They come off the back of a big carnival, and there's another couple of big carnivals coming up. Tarapa's got a big carnival. So I think they're both great races, but I think we've seen a lot in the last couple of years. The Levin Classic's dropped away a little bit, because unless your 3-year-old's flying and it's not Karaka Million eligible, most people aren't going to go. So I'm really going to enjoy the day. I think out of the two of them, there's one significantly better bet than the other one.
Can I guess?
It's Brando. Anybody watching the show who doesn't know that shouldn't be betting.
Yeah,
should take your money outside, put it in a wheelbarrow, and fucking bet.
Well, no, hold on. But answer me this then: why when I actually looked today after the draws, Avantage, and we're going to do the hell of a race in a second, so I don't step on that. But Avantage is drawn out a little bit. Brando got the dream draw. They both got the same grass rider on and Danielle Johnson, but some reason Brando's 10 cents wider.
Absolutely no idea. I looked at that.
I can't work it
out. How does Brando? I reckon he might close $1.40.
He should.
I'm not saying he will, but there's potential there, because I don't imagine many people watching this are going to back Whimsical to back him. And Whimsical's a really good filly, but I don't imagine people are going to back it to beat him. And there's a lot of horses like Bonham and stuff in the race who are really good, meaty horses and really talented horses. But Brando's just going to get an avalanche of money. Admittedly, at $1.75, even if he's swamped in money, he might only move to $1.65 because you need to have a lot of money to start decreasing your percentages by that much. I think he's close enough to a certainty if he turns up in his best form.
Wow.
Whereas Avantage has to beat a horse who's won 2 Telegraphs and another horse who's pretty darn good who ran her to a length. So we'll get to that in a second. But Brando's one stands out, and I can't make any case for him to get beaten. As we're about to do a hell of a race, I can make a case for Avantage to get beaten.
All right, let's do it.
No last race. It's Mick's hell of a race with Hell Pizza.
Before we get into that, and we've got a great question here from Cody Turner, just put it bluntly. Hell Pizza, they've been on board for the best part of 6 months now, and that was the contract we had with them. So next week, we're going to try and do we're going to go back-to-back weeks for the Karaka Million, do another no last race, and we're going to have some giveaways, and we're going to part in style. But for tonight, we are going to launch another free delivery code. So Karaka, Karaka, I think. Karaka, that is your free delivery code, $25 spend. Use that in the next couple of days, in the next week. Show your support to Hell Pizza, who supported us. And then next week, we're going to have some more delivery stuff and we'll do some other gimmicks. So really appreciative of them coming on board. It was really cool to have a mainstream brand on board. So show them some support. Let's get around them. And they're getting around like they've got around us for 6 months. Okay, now with that being said, I really want to put this up because I think it's a great question. Can Tavi Mac roll Avantage? Well, it's what everybody's asking, Mick. It's what everybody wants to know.
Look, he can. It's a remarkable story when you go back over their careers. They couldn't be more different. It's just graphic. From the time they were born, sold, by the time they raced, Avantage won a 2-year-old race in October. Tavi Mac didn't race till he was a May 3-year-old. It's just jarringly different, but they've ended up in the same place in life. Tavi Mac, I think he arrived on our open class scene in the Foxbridge on the 5th of September, I think it was. So he comes out in the Foxbridge and he goes super. And he comes in barrier 14, crosses him, sits outside the leader, puts in the bed, Avantage gets pardoned by a length, beautiful ride, everything went right for her. And it wasn't much in it. How much Avantage has improved since then is negligible. There's not much reason she would improve. I mean, she was already a top open class horse and a multiple Group 1 winner when she won a Group 2 that day. Tavi Mac has to have improved. Now, he put away a really good horse in Cool Sign Mav last time out. The Foxbridge was weight for age 1200. This is also weight for age 1200, but Tavi Mac's gone up so far on the rating points. He was disadvantaged by weight for age back then. He's actually probably got the rating of a good weight for age horse there. He's a 105. I think he's going to sit handy to the speed. I think it gives Troy Harris options to, if Avantage is outside him, to try and lean on. He's not a very big horse to do that with, but at least to try and dictate some sort of line to her. Yes, he can beat her. And more importantly, if you don't think she can get beaten, it's a really tough race to take $1.65, because you're taking $1.65 against a horse who's won 2 Telegraphs, pushed it to a neck last year, and a horse who clearly outpointed Cool Sign Mav last time. Now, since then, Cool Sign Mav's carried 63 with an open handicap last Saturday. Prior to that, Cool Sign Mav had beaten Avantage fair and square in the Tarzino. So there's form around Tavi Mac that says if he beats Avantage, that makes sense. This is not something I didn't expect from another planet. Whereas I don't see that form around Brando's rivals earlier on. Avantage's top pick because the percentages and logic would suggest she'll probably win, but you can't take $1.65. That's just ridiculous. They've turned the tape off on her, and that's fine. She might start, I reckon she'll start $1.70, $1.80 or something. But you can back Tavi Mac for $4, and if Avantage beats you, well, stroke your shoulders. Other interesting horse in the race is Enzo's Lad. Obviously, 2 wins in this race and a second last year. Not many horses win great races 3 times. It's one of those things racing people love, like Castletown winning 3 Wellington Cups, Mr. Tiz winning 3 railways. If he pulled it off, that'd be a monumental moment in the history of New Zealand racing. I don't think he will, but a lot of the things he does map well for this. He's got a good barrier draw. He'll sit close to the speed, potentially a roundabout weaker force or close to one of those horses, and he'll just keep running hard. So he'll be in the fight, Enzo's lad, but whether he can be quite as good at at 8 as he was at 7, 5, and 6 remains to be seen. But it's a great story. It's probably the story of the race, along with Tavi Mac. Avantage is a story we know far better.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really great summation of the race, Mick. I'm going to kind of disagree, but I don't know if you'll disagree with me too much. I don't think it's right. They have turned the tap off on Avantage, and I don't necessarily understand why she's at $1.65. It is extremely hard to win a railway and then go and win a Telegraph. I think it's in the same year. I think it's happened maybe 3 times ever and not since the turn of the century. Aidan Rodley had the stats on Twitter today. Go have a look at them. A-Rod just does a fantastic job in Group 1 week in putting these out. It was unbelievable. And even a horse that has won both, it has only happened a handful of times. You add that in with the fact that you said it. Callsign may have bet Avantage when we had that lovely futures bet on Avantage, fair and square. And I know that then Callsign may have got lumped with a lot more weight. But Tavi Mac's come out and run him down. And it's not like he wasn't carrying anything that day either. I'm not saying that I think Avantage will win the race. I think she came here, did the job last time. I don't think the barrier 10 worries. I think Danielle's going to be able to kind of settle midfieldish, get some cover, maybe one off, roll around them. And I think she's a good enough horse to win. But I don't understand why it's not, say, 230, 360. That's where I get kind of stuck.
They probably took the futures money, so the market started an unbalanced situation. And they know that there's just going to be a truckload of money and also multis, of course, for Jay Richards, Danielle Johnson, Avantage as a horse who's won a lot of races. So, but I'll be careful betting against Alan Sherrick. I mean, he's got a massive team and then massive talent team. He's got 4 horses, but they've all got winning chances. Waisaki, Cinerama is going to be incredibly hard to beat. Even our Hail Mary's got a chance. So he's training at 3.88 at the moment. So he trains a winner every 3.88 starts. Now, a lot of them are down the CD where he's probably not up against trainers who are quite as good as Jamie most weeks, but he's doing a massive job. And if Tavi Mac come out and won the Telegraph, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Whereas if Brando gets beat, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, mate. I completely agree. I think Brando is nearly a dirty moral. You don't want to say it, but I think if you want to take $1.65 for Avantage, get Timmy Vogel, who will pop up in the comments, to go tip you one at the Meadows late on a Saturday night or something from box 1. You know, there are better ways.
There's another way of attacking it, obviously, and that's if you've got $200 and you can afford to lose $200, and don't steal someone's rent money out of the jar next to their bed to pay to do this, but you could have $100 multi bet if you want. Brando Avantage, Brando Tavi Mac.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to do that. Yeah,
you can do that. So
yeah, 100%. All right.
Do not embezzle funds to do so, though. We're very serious. This needs to be your money.
Luke Kimmies, if you're listening, do not use the Punters Club money a week early to have it. Okay. There's a couple. Ted McLaughlin's just fired through a best bet, so we'll get to that before the end of the show. And look, I think there's some fantastic racing this weekend. You just made the point about Alan Sherrick. You said Cinerama's a great chance. I love Cinerama. I just get frustrated back here and watch you fall out of the gates. I actually think Hail Mary. She's probably the lowest rated horse in that race. It's the open handicap race, over 2,100 meters. She hasn't come that far before, but her last win at Taranaki, where she sat, Hazel had to push around her, got trapped wide, sat parked, and just kept finding the line. I think she's a great each way chance. So I love that $1.85.
She's not well placed. Set weights and penalties bids her only 2 kilos behind Dolcetto, and she's got 20 rating points below him. So she's not well placed. Cinerama is well placed.
Yeah.
She's in a nice spot, 53 kgs and an anniversary, which isn't super strong. The mitigators topped out the market, so it brings everybody else, other handicaps, so it brings everybody else down. Ran really good sectionals, running 4th in the Kaloizuzu last time, which has proven to be a very strong race. Show of Roses won the Kaloizuzu, won the Ritual next start. Superior ran 2nd in the Kaloizuzu, ran 2nd in the Zabille. That's good form. So Cinerama, for me, picks herself, and I wouldn't say she's better of the day, but she's very, very tempting for a proper play, depending on what they open. I haven't seen that market yet.
Cinerama, I think she's a real each way money, like $5, $2 or something like
that. I'll be all over that. That's more. I'll be happier to do that. And if I'm spending $1,000 this week, I'm not even sure if I'll bet, but I'm happy to have my 600 on Brando, and then have 200 each way on Cinerama. If they both win, happy days. I'm out Saturday night. If Brando wins, I can't lose for the day. That's all right. That's how I'm happy to attack a day like that. And if you want to dick around and take pick sixes and stuff in between, yeah, well, good luck to you.
100%. And I agree.
$5 Cinerama, thank you, Luke. That's outstanding money. Like, yeah, she'll be backed. There's absolutely no doubts about it.
Do you not worry about her falling out of the gates, though? Because I asked Alan last time if he'd remedied it, and he thought he had with a bit of medication and Opie, and it did the same thing.
It's Trentham. Look, it's not a great field, and there's a chance of genuine tempo in the race with the mitigator there. He's run a 133, 1600. There's a chance they'll roll along and carrying 53 kgs. I worry a lot more about horses getting back carrying 57 to 60 than I do getting back carrying 53 because you can do more stuff with it.
Yep. Okay. Excellent stuff. There you go. Well, that's pretty much.
No last race. It's Mick's hell of a race with Hell Pizza.
That's a hell of a race. It's the Telegraph. Look, there was some really good analysis from Mick there. So tell your mates, yes, Cody. I think that was Cody, wasn't it? Cody Turner. Yes, Tavi Mac can win, and we won't be surprised. And I'm in agreement. Now, remember, Hell Pizza, free delivery code. Karaka. Simple as that. Karaka, $25 spend. Go get around them. Hey, Mick, this time of year, the sales and that sort of jazz, it's a unique one with the borders being shut. What are you hearing from down there on the Karaka complex from blokes like Seabrook and, Peter Vella? And is the energy up? Because I know the other sales are going on at the moment around the world. How are they feeling?
The Gold Coast sales on at the moment, and it's flying. I was going to say the F word there. It's flying. Like they paid 1.9 million for one yesterday, 1.8 today. There's a lot of money for good colts. It's good. Now, that's a good indicator because it means people aren't shitting themselves. Racing, of course, hasn't stopped anywhere. Not in the marketplaces we deal with. It's a real softening of racing in Singapore, but they're still racing in Hong Kong, obviously Australia and New Zealand. So the places we're going to sell horses to, racing hasn't changed at all. In fact, in many ways, it's been better because there's light at the end of the tunnel for northern New Zealand racing. So people still want to buy horses. And the economy, the money's cheap, the economy's strong. All those things are just as important as people coming into the country. I spoke to a really intelligent agent this week, a guy called Dean Hawthorne, smart guy, buys a lot of horses for people in Australia. And he said, the problem is Aussies come in to buy one or two horses and go home with one or three because they buy another horse. They see it and they buy it. And that emotional wow type buying may not happen on the grounds because there's not going to be many people there. Whether it translates to online, a lot of people get addicted to online auctions. It's doubtful. But one of the simple things people need to remember is horse trainers need horses or they can't make money. It's no different to product. The television channels need shows. That's why there's so much bullshit on television because unless there's TV shows, they can't sell advertising, they can't make money. So horse trainers still need to buy horses. And they need to find them somewhere. And there's going to be a lot of people at the moment on the Gold Coast getting blown out of the water, the Magic Millions. So there's some really lovely El Manzor colts here. So he's a name you probably haven't heard much of if you're not into breeding. El Manzor is going to land with a very, very big splash. He's got 48 in book one. There's some really new, exciting stallions coming in. A lot of the first season stallions are speed horses, like Russian Revolution and Speed and a whole lot of horses like that. There's heaps of them. And that's good because you're more likely to take a chance on a first season stallion if you think you can Karaka Million it. And there's a bunch of Satherbeels, less than usually is, but there's some really nice ones. There's a lot of positive signs. I think it brings New Zealand players back into the market. People can go, look, I've been blown away a couple of times at the sales the last couple of years. I think Kieran Maher outbid me on a Sacred Falls. Well, I don't have as much money as those people do. so that may not be the same level of problem for this sale. So, look, I think it's a really good opportunity to buy horses because there's also a Ready to Run sale in November. Now, the world could be a vastly different place by November. Vastly. I'm not saying I know that because obviously nobody knows what's going to happen with COVID, but it could be. And those markets could open up and we could have people on the sales grounds who need to come here and buy a Savile colt or need to buy a Sacred Falls or a Prasia, who's a horse I would really buy a horse by, and all those things. So it won't be a bloodbath. I reckon the aggregate will be down. There's 900 horses to sell, 918 I think it was. I reckon the aggregate will be down. I reckon the average will be slightly down, but I think a lot of that's also due to the fact I don't think we're going to sell many. Last year we sold a Pero for 900,000. I'm not sure we're going to have many of those. I'm not sure we're going to have many 750 plus horses, and by no means am I an expert, but I put a lot of research into this, asking a lot of people who are. And that does bring your average down because you sell a horse for $1 million and the entire sales average goes up by $1,000.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be really good, really strong. I think it's a really good opportunity. I know your boys are going to shop. Luke's going to buy one for a syndicate. I reckon it's great shopping at the moment. And there's a lot of stallions who in the last year have embellished their records. Ocean Park, and there's not a lot of Ocean Parks in the sale, but he's done a really good job in Australia. Prasi has really emerged as a cheap stallion. Everybody wanted to buy Vadamos last year because they've got lovely big shoulders on them. Darcy Brahma's had a remarkable last 13 months. No one would be embarrassed to buy Darcy Brahma anymore because, hey, he had good ready to run some results. He's had Karma Less and he's had Catalyst. So there's a lot of horses that, and obviously Sacred Falls, their old Sacred Falls who's passed away. He's another one who a year ago you're like, do I really want to buy Sacred Falls? And now you go bang, bang, bang.
Aegon.
Exactly. Aegon, Z-Falls, just a whole bunch of them that have done a really good job. He ran second, I think, in the Golden Eagle or something like that. Either that or Ocean Park. So those stallions are embellishing themselves. So I think there's a lot of horses there now who I might have been lukewarm on someone buying me a horse by them a year ago. Probably, Prasi is the best example. If someone said to me, I can get a Prasi, I can go Riodini, Levante, fuck, I'll take one of those.
100%. And from an absolute expert in myself, I can tell you, I agree with Al Manzour. We went down to Cambridge Stud, watched Embellish do his thing to a mare. That was enlightening, Mick. But they got Al Manzour out of the box. Oh my God, that horse is a specimen. It is just like it's like what I thought I would imagine if like Usain Bolt was standing in front of me, like the pure athlete. This thing was just
you don't get to be the champion miler in Europe unless you're a proper horse. I mean, those European horses are good, and Jesus, he's had some support. Like he's got, when you go through the catalogue, almost every mare who's underneath the Al Manzour, because they have the stallion and the mare, is black type herself, has left a black horse, or is a sibling of a black type horse. Almost all of them. He's had incredible support. Everybody I spoke to loves him. I've spoken to 10 or 12 different people who do this for a job. They love them. He'll sell really strongly. And it's good to see Cambridge Stud turning the corner after they lost 3 stallions last year in the space of about 4 months.
Yeah, 100%. Brendan and Joe deserve that. Absolutely. All right, Mick. Well, that's fantastic. And that's exactly what I just wanted to get a little bit of breeding chat in there. We're about to wrap this thing up. For Ted McLaughlin sent through a little one here. Lisa Allpress is the TAB Hot Jock tomorrow, which is a decent promo at Wanganui. I love that. Wanganui with the old spelling as well, Ted. Yep, awesome. Money back in bonus bets if she runs second, third, or fourth. So what has he got here? Melody Rocks, Meg, and Kaluanui. Meg is the John O'Benna Holly Wynyard runner that came absolutely storming after that well-backed Alan Sharrock Darcy Labella last start, and she's about $1.90, but I wouldn't mind, honestly. She looks a filthy moral in that pretty weak field down there if you're willing to play odds on. Mick, what about you? You usually love to dabble in a little bit of harness and send us something a little bit wider that we might not have scanned. Is Cinerama your best bet?
It's a funny one. There's harness racing on this weekend. There's Cambridge tomorrow night, which I haven't done a truckload of form for, and there's actually Marlborough on Friday. But it's actually a weekend I'm stepping right away from it. They're meetings I'm not going to be attacking. They're not meetings. I'm not saying don't attack them by all means, but I really want to get the next 10 days right. I've got to host the sales for New Zealand Bloodstock, which is a wonderful opportunity for me. So I'm reading the catalogue a lot and ringing people a lot because you don't want to take that money and just bullshit people. So harness racing has taken a little bit of a back step in my life for the next week and a half. I'm still willing to write stories and do things and do my job. Of course I am. But it's you got to focus when on the right stuff. And the next 2 weeks, thoroughbred racing's where it's at in this country, and it's a really, really important 2 weeks. So the one thing I would say is just don't be surprised if we have a little upset or two. It's really easy after what we saw on Boxing Day, New Year's Day, to get really nutty and carried away with multis. And yes, I think Brando will win, and maybe Avantage will win. And it's really keen to get keen on Adrenaline or Aegon, depending which way you're going, and whoever in the Karaka Million Levante. But some of these horses are starting to get a bit jointy. They're starting to get a bit tired. It's hard on them. Their bodies are hard. It's hot. No different to you if you're going for a run yourself. It's hard. Mm-hmm. Some hard. And just be a little bit careful about going absolute gun-ho, boys, if you're having a bet, because don't be stunned if we see something in the next 2 weeks. You go, Jesus, I couldn't have seen that coming, because the tighter these horses get, the more likely a percentage point drops. And it might only take a percentage point to drop for example, for Avantage to get beaten the Telegraph.
Wow, there you go. Well, with that being said, though, we did have someone suggest a $200 multi Brando into Cinerama replace. Could you warn us off that, or you think that's pretty good?
If you want to take that seriously and you've got $200 spare money, that's beautiful. That's smart betting because you think Brando's going to win and Cinerama can be unlucky and still run a place. I think it's a beautiful race for. If someone said to me, "What's the bet you would have this week?" The level I bet it, I'm happy to bet Brando. I could have 5,000 on it, make me, $3,500. I'm happy as Larry. But if someone out there wants to spend the $100 and that's all they've got to spend, and I fully respect that, you shouldn't be blowing more money than you've got. Have your 50 each one in Cinerama, and she'll give you a chance, I think.
Mickey G, the Dan Bilzerian of the West Coast.
Yes, I think it's the last time we need to use that hyphen.
That's never going away, ever.
I'm glad we're actually finishing up now because I'm batching for the next 7 weeks. I've got no one here to make any food, so I need to go across the road before the restaurants close in Parnell at 9 o'clock.
Oh, right. So Luke scared your wife off with his open collar shirt.
I think I scared a lot of people off. It was quite reptilian, to be completely honest. But we won't go into that anymore. To all your lads, mate, we're looking forward to seeing them at Karaka Million night. I might come up and say hello and have a jar because we've got a little bit of work on that night, but I'm not doing any big screen shit. So it should be a good chance to come up and meet some of the boys because I met some of them down in Christchurch. I've met them a few times since, and they're great lads. So, hopefully we can get up to the room and might even join into the chant.
Oh, gee, now you got us going. We need a new one, though. That's the only thing. So,
the wife beater on the cowboy head.
Yeah, Dan Bilzerian into the room. Famous edition. Mickey G, Louis Herman-Watt, no last race with Tiaka Racing. Appreciate your time, everybody. We'll catch you next time.